So not too long ago, I put up a poll on our channel, and please make sure you guys go vote on this poll. And I asked the audience, I said, should the Lakers move LeBron James by the trade deadline? Right? Maybe I should have phrased the wording different. And in the 2 hours, we have about 3,000 voters. Of the 3,000 voters, 89% of them are saying yes. 11% of them are saying no.
So, now you're going to retire. That shouldn't be too hard for you. Stupid game after all.
Lakers fans recently took part in a poll asking whether the franchise should move on from LeBron James before the trade deadline, and the outcome was shocking. Out of roughly 3,000 participants, a staggering 89% voted in favor of trading him. That's not a slim majority or even a strong majority. It's nearly 9 out of every 10 fans saying it's time for the Lakers to part ways with LeBron. The frustration among the fan base appears to be reaching a boiling point. Many supporters who once embraced the 4-time champion are now questioning his impact on the organization. What do you think? Since arriving in Los Angeles in 2018, has LeBron James ultimately done more good than harm for the Lakers? Share your honest opinion in the comments below.
I said that LeBron James has ruined this franchise. I sincerely believe that. It has been nothing but turmoil since this guy's gotten there. Turmoil, chaos. His ridiculous fans found a way to infiltrate the building, and it's just been a total mess. You have honey stuck all over the floor, one's flying in the sky. It's been a total mess.
These are the facts of the case, and they are undisputed.
We need to discuss what's going on with the Lakers, because the reaction from the fan base has reached another level. And surprisingly, it's not because the team is struggling on the court. This time, the frustration comes from something much deeper. A growing number of fans believe they've finally identified the root of the team's issues, and in their eyes, that person is LeBron James.
I said, should the Lakers move LeBron James by the trade deadline? Right? Maybe I should have phrased the wording different. And in the 2 hours, we have about 3,000 voters. Of the 3,000 voters, 89% of them are saying yes. 11% of them are saying no.
A recent poll asked Lakers fans a straightforward question. Should the organization trade LeBron James before the deadline? Normally, fan polls like this produce fairly balanced results, with supporters divided on both sides of the debate. This one was different. In just 2 hours, around 3,000 fans cast their votes, and the outcome was overwhelming. An astonishing 89% voted in favor of moving LeBron, while only 11% wanted him to stay. That's not a narrow margin or a fan base split down the middle. It's a decisive result that suggests a large portion of Lakers supporters are ready for a major change. The reactions in the comments were even more intense than the poll itself. Many fans expressed their frustration with harsh remarks, arguing that LeBron's presence is hurting the team and that the franchise should move on completely. Others even included Bronny in their criticism. One commenter claimed the Lakers enjoyed a brief stretch of optimism early in the season, but since then, a sense of negativity has settled over the entire organization.
But at the time that the news was circulating about LeBron potentially becoming a Los Angeles Lakers, some fans, or a lot of Laker fans, were not excited about the idea. Not because LeBron wasn't a great NBA player, was because of all of the antics and everything that comes with this guy.
To understand why so many fans feel this way, you have to look beyond the win-loss record. For many supporters, the frustration runs much deeper. When LeBron James joined the Lakers in 2018, not everyone in the fan base celebrated the move. It wasn't because they doubted his talent or accomplishments. Instead, some fans were concerned about the constant attention, pressure, and controversy that often seemed to follow him throughout his career. Since his arrival, the organization has experienced major changes, including coaching turnovers, roster shakeups, and ongoing debates about the team's direction. Critics argue that too many decisions have been made with the goal of maximizing LeBron's window rather than focusing on the franchise's long-term future. At the same time, discussions among Lakers fans became increasingly divided. Supporters of LeBron and longtime Lakers fans often found themselves on opposite sides of arguments, creating tension throughout the fan base. This season only intensified those conversations. When LeBron was sidelined with injuries for an extended stretch, some fans felt the team finally had an opportunity to establish a different identity. During that period, The Lakers put together an impressive run, winning 11 of their first 14 games without him in the lineup. More importantly, many supporters felt the team was playing a more balanced style of basketball. The offense appeared smoother, players embraced clearly defined roles, and the defensive effort seemed more consistent. Luka Doncic took control of the offense. Austin Reaves continued to thrive, and several younger players made meaningful contributions. As a result, some fans viewed that stretch as a glimpse of what the Lakers could become moving forward. When LeBron returned, however, critics argued that the team's rhythm changed, reigniting the debate over whether the franchise is better served building around its future rather than continuing to center everything around its longtime superstar.
That was, priority number one for me. Role clarity. I think since we've gotten Bron back, we haven't been as organized offensively. Too many random possessions. So, that's on me. So it's those three things, defensive clarity, role clarity, and offensive organization.
According to critics, the impact was noticeable almost immediately after LeBron's return. They point to the team's defensive numbers, claiming that a unit which had shown signs of stability suddenly began struggling again, with its defensive efficiency taking a significant step backward. Fans who supported this viewpoint also argued that the chemistry the Lakers had been developing seemed to fade. Players who had looked comfortable and confident in their roles appeared less decisive, and the team started dropping games against opponents they had handled successfully earlier in the season. These critics also note that LeBron's return came during a pair of games against the Utah Jazz, a team that was among the weaker squads in the Western Conference at the time. Following those performances, many of LeBron's supporters celebrated his comeback as a major turning point for the Lakers. That reaction sparked even more debate online. Opponents argued that the excitement overlooked the context of the matchups, suggesting that strong performances against a struggling opponent didn't necessarily prove that LeBron had transformed the team's fortunes. Instead, they believed it distracted from larger questions about the Lakers' long-term direction and whether the roster functioned better with a different style of play. As a result, the divide between LeBron supporters and his critics only grew stronger, with both sides pointing to the same stretch of games as evidence for completely different conclusions.
He started playing with, of course, Austin Reaves. Immediately, you saw Austin Reaves' numbers take a hit. And then they started losing, right? And then what happened? Austin Reaves eventually got injured. And I said, okay, let's see what he can do now that it's, instead of Luka and Reaves, it's LeBron and Reaves. And it's been a total disaster ever since.
Critics argue that the team's issues became even more noticeable once LeBron was fully reinserted into the rotation. In their view, players who had flourished with greater responsibilities saw their opportunities reduced. Austin Reaves is often mentioned as an example. During the stretch without LeBron, he had more freedom to create offense and handle playmaking duties. After LeBron's return, critics claim his role became more limited, reducing the impact he had been making with the ball in his hands. They also contend that the offense lost some of the variety and fluidity it had previously displayed. What had looked dynamic and difficult to defend, they argue, became more reliant on familiar sets and easier for opponents to anticipate. Defensively, these critics believe the decline was even more significant. They point to a lack of consistent effort and cohesion on that end of the floor, arguing that the team's overall defensive structure suffered as a result. The Lakers' recent stretch of games has only fueled those concerns. Detractors point to the club's .500 record over its last 10 contests as evidence that the team is far from performing at a championship level. In a highly competitive Western Conference, they argue that simply breaking even is not enough to establish the Lakers as a serious contender. From this perspective, the team's struggles are closely tied to changes in chemistry, roles, and overall identity following LeBron's return, which is why the debate surrounding his impact on the franchise continues to intensify.
Trade him to Shady Pines retirement home. I wish they could cut him, but he has a no-trade clause in his contract. They should trade his son to send a message. His contract expires in March, so it doesn't matter. It's a win for LA. Another guy said, bro, he is killing this team. Just pay him out and dump him and Bronny Jr. The Lakers were so happy for 15 games at the beginning of the season. Now the cloud is over them.
Reading through the responses to the poll, it's clear just how frustrated many Lakers fans have become. The comments weren't simply criticizing the team's performance. They reflected a deeper sense of exhaustion with the current situation. Some fans suggested that because LeBron reportedly holds significant leverage regarding his future, the organization should make other roster moves to signal that no player is bigger than the franchise. Others argued that with his contract situation approaching a key decision point, the Lakers could benefit from eventually moving in a new direction regardless of how things play out. A number of commenters also questioned LeBron's role and workload. Some felt his minutes should be reduced in order to better balance the roster and maximize team performance. In their view, the coaching staff has been unwilling to make difficult decisions involving a player of his stature. That belief leads to a broader criticism shared by many of the poll participants. They argue that the Lakers have become overly focused on accommodating LeBron, making it difficult for the organization to prioritize what they believe is best for the franchise's long-term future. Whether that perception is fair or not, it's a major reason why emotions are running so high. For these fans, the issue isn't just about one player. It's about whether the Lakers are truly free to build the team in the way they believe gives them the best chance to succeed moving forward.
So during Luka's extension press conference, Rob Pelinka had this to say about LeBron's future with the team. Pelinka said, if he had a chance to retire a Laker, that would be great. So personal feelings and opinions aside, but should LeBron feel disrespected by how the Lakers are treating him at this point?
No, I don't think so. They got new blood.
The discussion about LeBron's no-trade clause keeps resurfacing, and for good reason. Many critics view it as one of the biggest obstacles facing the Lakers. Because the clause gives LeBron significant control over his future, any potential move would require his approval, limiting the organization's flexibility. For some frustrated fans, however, the debate isn't really about whether a trade is possible. Their argument is much broader. They simply believe the franchise should begin moving away from the LeBron era and start focusing entirely on its next chapter. This has also reignited a long-running debate about what it means to be a Lakers fan. Some supporters argue that many of LeBron's most vocal defenders are primarily loyal to him rather than to the franchise itself. They point out that fans who followed the team through earlier eras have a different perspective on how the organization should operate and what Lakers basketball is supposed to represent. Those fans often compare the current situation to previous generations led by legendary figures such as Kobe Bryant and Magic Johnson. In their view, the franchise's identity has always been bigger than any individual player, regardless of how accomplished that player may be. The divide becomes especially apparent when discussing roster construction and team culture. Critics argue that a franchise should never build its entire future around a player in the later stages of his career, while LeBron's supporters counter that an all-time great still gives the team its best chance to compete. The debate also extends to effort, leadership, and on-court behavior. Detractors point to moments they view as evidence that the team's standards have slipped, while supporters believe those criticisms are exaggerated and overlook LeBron's continued production and influence. Many longtime fans frame the issue as one of franchise identity. They argue that historic rivalries and organizational traditions matter, just as supporters of teams like the Boston Celtics have always embraced their own culture and history. From that perspective, they believe the Lakers should prioritize their future regardless of who the star player is. As a result, the conversation has evolved beyond wins and losses. For many people on both sides, it's become a debate about loyalty, culture, leadership, and what direction the franchise should take moving forward. The disagreements are intense because fans aren't just arguing about a player, they're arguing about what they believe the Lakers should be. Rich Paul recently sparked controversy after discussing potential Lakers trades on his podcast, including the idea of moving Austin Reeves for Jaren Jackson Jr. Critics argue that, as LeBron's agent and the head of Clutch Sports, his public comments create concerns about influence over team decisions. At the same time, frustration among a segment of Lakers fans has continued to grow. Many point to a fan poll in which 89% of respondents supported moving on from LeBron James, viewing it as evidence that a large portion of the fan base is unhappy with the team's current direction. These fans believe the Lakers looked more balanced during the stretch, when LeBron was sidelined, highlighting the team's strong record and improved ball movement. They argue that after his return, chemistry, defensive consistency, and offensive rhythm declined, fueling even more criticism. Others have questioned the organization's willingness to make difficult decisions involving LeBron, claiming the franchise has become too focused on accommodating him rather than building for the future. Concerns about roster construction, player development, and outside influence have all become part of the debate. Ultimately, the core message from these critics is simple. They want the Lakers to move beyond the LeBron era and fully commit to a new direction. Whether that view represents the entire fan base or just a passionate segment of it remains open to debate, but the discussion has clearly become one of the biggest storylines surrounding the franchise. If this topic interests you, let us know in the comments. Has LeBron helped the Lakers more than he's hurt them? Or is it time for the franchise to turn the page?